Hello, everybody. Happy week 11. Can you believe it? We are really getting close to not only the end of this project, but the end of this semester. So we are going to do a lot of drafting and crafting this week. We're going to be building on a lot of stuff you've already been doing, and we're going to make it even sharper and cooler. So check this out. This week, we're going to start by brainstorming with a free write. We're going to move to a thesis statement workshop. And then we're going to develop our outlines for our reports. Our report draft is due next week. We're going to have a writer's workshop next week. There will be loads of support for you. I will create loads of Calendly appointment times, so please work with me if you can. I'm happy to give you one-on-one feedback. Also, I encourage you to work with Rachel and Tiffany. And next week, I'll give you extra credit if you do so. But this week, I want you to even consider working with Rachel and Tiffany for lots of things. If you're still working on finding sources, talk to Tiffany. If you're looking for ways to hone those research questions, let's talk to Rachel. If you're looking for ways to organize your material, talk to any of us. We're going to be working hard on putting these pieces together this week. You've done some of the heavy lifting already. I apologize. I keep getting alerts. All right, let's go forward. So this week, you are going to do some free writing, as I say in your journal, thesis workshop, outline, and you've got a quiz on parallelism. A lesson should be showing up shortly. If you are scheduled, post your lesson on active and passive voice by Sunday. Your reading this week. You've got a little PowerPoint here on pi paragraphs. I hope to talk to you about that in a minute. Please read the chapters 7 for outlining, because we're doing an outline this week. 8 on thesis writing, because we're working on your thesis this week. Chapter 9 on paragraph development, because we're working on your paragraphs this week. And review chapters 33 and 34 about compiling and managing your research. This is a cool and funny video about writing transitions that gets your reader from one paragraph to another or one major idea to another. It's amusing, but it's really useful as well, and it involves Jedis. So I mean, come on, you got to watch this video. This is a cooler and simplified version of the PowerPoint I posted last week. We'll talk about that in a bit. Again, this is the pi paragraph deal, same thing. PI stands for Point, Information, and Explanation. That's one acronym of several. You can look into TIR, Topic, Sentence, Evidence, Analysis, and Reflection. Those things are all part of the same language system talking about paragraphs. You can choose whichever one you want, but we always have these building elements in a paragraph. I'll explain shortly. Your journal. Okay, so you are getting your research put together. If you haven't finished annotating your sources or deciding what you're going to quote or paraphrase or summarize, this is the time to do it. Make sure we know where to find the information. You're going to be sharing your source material, your sources with me, as you have been with your they say, I say. Excuse me. And you're going to be looking for emerging themes, the subtopics that support your main idea. Now, this should not be a foreign concept to you. You've done the research plan, which was kind of a junior outline, junior start to your developing your outline, which developed subtopics. But even before that, in your concept mapping, you had the main question in the center and then support questions, right? That went off to the sides, a little spider webby kind of thing, and then source material that answered those questions. Well, those sub-questions, if they prove to be fruitful and lead you to good information, could be those themes that you develop in body paragraphs in your essay. So you think about that main question in the center, that's going to turn into your thesis because you answer that difficult to answer question with your thesis statement. And then each of those questions that went off to the side can turn into topic sentences for your paragraphs, if that's what you end up going with. Now, that said, as we do our research, our themes and our sub-questions may change because we learn new information and may change direction. So what are the themes that you are developing now? What are you seeing as the main subtopics for your essay? So that's a big question that we're going to be addressing in this particular journal. Your free write, though, is to help you kind of hone that thesis statement to get us to what is the most interesting or surprising thing you've discovered about your topic, and why do you think this will be important to your readers? If you free write on that for a couple of minutes, then the angle will probably emerge. What do you really want your readers to get out of this? What lights you up? If it lights you up, it's going to light your readers up, right? And it's going to guide us to your essay, into your essay. What additional questions do you think your reader would have that you can answer through research? If you are thinking about a particular audience and that you think about what they know and what they need to know, then if there's anything that you think is missing from that collection of information, this is the time to find it. Then address those 2 to 4 emerging themes that you have identified in your research, those sub-questions, those little legs on the spider that you developed in your map, whatever they may be at this point. Identify those themes, and let's talk about how we can get those to be support paragraphs for your essay. So here, we're going to dive a bit deeper into your thesis. In your earlier journal assignments, you've done some working thesis statements and some working ideas for thesis. And of course, and I've given you some feedback. Of course, those are drafts, right? We're just practicing. Well, there are different structures that we can use as we go deeper into our research, deeper into our ideas, deeper into what's interesting and surprising, honing those research questions. Then we can answer them with a zippy cool thesis. Now, the zippy cool thesis, if it's structured well, will be a map for the structure for the entire essay. Did you catch that? It's a junior outline. Watch how this happens. Okay, so here are 3 examples. Now I want you to try writing a thesis using all 3 of these methods and post the best of your best into your discussion. And then you're going to respond to each other and then kind of give each other feedback. Rank them. Which one is the most interesting and effective? What do you think is going to lead to the most interesting essay? So here's main idea plus 3. Let's say that your sample research question is, does listening to music benefit people with dementia? And then the thesis, psychologists find that listening to music helps patients with dementia, which is the main idea. Reconnect to old memories, reduce feelings of anxiety, and form closer bonds with caregivers. Did you catch that? It's main idea plus 3. If I can answer those questions, that question, does listening to music benefit people with dementia? But how, right? I should have had that added that to the question. Does listening to music benefit people with dementia, and how does it do so? That's the big question. Main idea. Psychologists find that listening to music helps patients with dementia reconnect to old memories, that's the plus 1, reduce feelings of anxiety, and form closer bonds with caregivers. Now we know that our essay is going to define dementia somewhere in there, probably early on in a background paragraph or in the introduction. And it's going to devote a chunk of at least 1 paragraph to each of those major themes, reconnecting to old memories, reducing feelings of anxiety, and forming closer bonds to caregivers. The structure of the essay is now laid out for us. Let's take another example. The teeter-totter structure takes the reader from an old idea to a new or surprising idea. A sample question. We are used to doing so many things at once that we assume that multitasking is a necessary skill, but is that true? Thesis, and this comes from an actual published article, I think from the New York Times. While multitasking may seem to be saving time, old idea, psychologists, neuroscientists, and others are finding that it can put us under a great deal of stress and actually make us feel less efficient. New idea. Okay, cool. Now we know the structure of our essay. We're going to have to address the old idea in the background section, which comes right after the introduction, if you're doing a background section. So this is optional. I mean, in some essays it's optional, but in this structure it's not. We have to start with the old idea and explain it. Why did people think that multitasking was beneficial? Why did we think it was a skill necessary for the workforce? All that background information. And then we go into the new idea, what psychologists and neuroscientists say about stress and lack of efficiency. Now we know the structure of our essay. Now we also want to think about what our audience knows and what it needs to know. We can think about, as you noticed in the essay written by Susie Suncat about how music is beneficial to teens, you'll notice that in the introduction, she addresses the needs and questions of adults, parents, and teachers who worry about young people listening to too much music. And she says, relax, guys, listening to music is beneficial. Okay, so she's addressing their needs and concerns. Well, you can imagine that this question is really for people, likewise, adults and parents, teachers, and maybe therapists. Are teen girls negatively affected by sexualized images in popular media? That's a good question. It's also a huge question. And as we're doing research, we're thinking, well, there's media everywhere. What are we talking about? That's gigantic. That's like the air we breathe. So let's narrow it down. So let's answer the question and be specific. Teenage girls who are captivated by the sexual images on MTV, specific media, are conditioned to believe that a woman's worth depends on her sensuality, a feeling that harms self-esteem and behavior. This explains why this whole point is important, and we can assume this is important to young women and also to those who love them or care for them, educate them, or guide them. So we're thinking about how we're going to address these things. So we're going to have the main idea plus answering the question with the audience in mind. So I want you to post 3 versions of your thesis. At least try one main idea plus 3, try a teeter-totter, and then you can take a look in chapter 8 and look at other sample theses. I drew this particular one from chapter 8, but look at how they structure various thesis statements and then try one out. Post your 3 sample attempts, right, of thesis statements to the discussion, and then read each other's discussions or posts and rank their thesis statements according to what you think. When you read somebody else's thesis statements, which ones do you think are going to be the most specific, the most interesting, and most likely to lead to a well-structured essay? Okay, so you're going to give each other feedback and your responses. This will help you out. Okay, so now we've brainstormed. We've thought about our themes. Our themes are going to help us with our thesis statements. Then we're going to move on to the outline. See how all of these things are working together. Smart, right? I'm giving myself loads of credit for that. Ha ha, not really. Okay, so you brainstormed in your free write, you worked on your thesis, and now we're going to use this template to outline our reports. So the purpose of an informative essay, as you know, is to inform, right? So you get the background, review the prompt. You're going to write a draft of an introduction. You will want to look at this, how to structure an informative report, because you want to begin with a hook. A hook is an attention-grabbing device. It can be a zippy quote. It can be a startling statistic. It can be an anecdote or short little illustrative story. It can be a shocking or descriptive setting. It can be a description of a person or a place or a thing. It can, but whatever it is, it sets the tone and grabs our attention and leads us into the topic of the essay. You want to have the who, what, when, where, and why, and how in there. What is this essay about? Who does it affect? Where does it take place? Why is this important? Is this current? As appropriate. You're going to address all those things. And then you lead the reader to your thesis. Usually the thesis is at the bottom of that martini glass, right? It's that olive in the martini glass in the center bottom of the paragraph. So you could check your work. Did you grab our interest? Did you define the topic? Did you give us background? Did we address who's the audience? Did you create this thesis statement? You're going to spend a fair amount of energy on that. This is a draft. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just get us started. You may or may not want that background paragraph that defines and explains the context of your topic. And then you go into your body paragraphs. So your theme, each theme, just like those little questions that came off the concept maps, you're going to have an answer to an interesting question as your topic sentence, the point of your paragraph. Then you'll provide These are not questions, these are statements. They are answers to questions. You're going to present evidence from source A and source B. You might have more than one source talking about the same topic, the same subtopic or theme. Introduce the source material with a signal phrase, just as you've been practicing in the they say, I say. Practice theme exercises. If the source has a page number or a paragraph, include it. And you're going to do that for each of your sources. That will save you loads of time and loads of worry, and you'll have all your research right where you need it. You're going to do that for each of the themes that you're going to address in your essay. If you need more than one paragraph, that's okay. We'll come to the conclusion, and the conclusion is going to be the reverse of your, kind of the reverse. It's an echo of your introduction. It reflects on what the essay has addressed and leaves us with an echo of that main idea, an echo of your thesis, and leaves us satisfied that we have come all this way and learned something of value. Both of those things, the introduction and the conclusion, take a little bit of elbow grease. So it's a draft. You're going to just put something on the page that is giving us an idea of where you're going, and that will help you out. You're going to submit your completed outline by Sunday, ideally. If it's Monday, I understand. Next week, we're going to be talking about how to use internal transitions, which means guiding us from source A to source B in the body of the paragraph, and about adding that reflection or the explication. In PI, we call it the explication or explanation of how the information supports the point. In the tier paragraph acronym, is the analysis. How does your analysis of the information you provided support the topic sentence? You're going to have to make sense of the material that you provide your readers. It's not just an information bomb. You are writing your essay. You need to make sense of that material for your readers. We'll talk more about that, and you'll practice more of that next week. And you'll make transitions between paragraphs. Next week, we also need to have the works cited page. So far, you have 2 citations out of at least 4 already built. You did that in your they say, I say. So we're going to take that the next step over and add 2 more of your sources, or as many as you need. You're going to have that works cited page that's going to be formatted and at the end of your essay. So if you want to get started on that this week, that's cool too. I'm not going to get in your way. I am here to support you. I'm here to answer your questions. So are Tiffany and Rachel. So if you can, show up to my office hours. Reach out to Tiffany and Rachel. We're here for you. And I hope by the end of this week you feel more confident and more at ease with this project and ready to craft your draft next week for our peer review and workshop. Don't wait to get started on this. The more elbow grease you put in it this week, the easier next week will be, and the more opportunities you have to get help if you get stuck. So reach out. All right, guys. See ya.